येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि शिवानुसुत देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So today we'll be revising Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, unit number 4, which runs from chapters 10 to 13. A couple of quick announcements before we start. Last Sunday, Archana's Vaikunta kid Devraj, Archana, Raksha, and His Grace Uttaman Prabhu from the Toronto Temple did a preaching activity during the Damodar month where they distributed 31 Bhagavad Gitas without much endeavor, just like that, 31 at one shot. Archana, you want to share what did you learn at the event and while at the event?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, so it was like London, Ontario. It was 3 hours traveling from Toronto. And I was preferring to take Devraj with me. And I know he's going to give me a hard time because sitting for a 3 hours continuous is hard for him. But luckily, by Krishna grace, he was sitting very nicely. And again, Rajesh Prabhu was tired. Rajesh Prabhu was saying, don't make me fall asleep. So what we're going to do? We're going to do Bhakti Yoga. So as Pragya Mataji and other devotees also know how we do the Bhakti Yoga. So we are outside, look outside when we see the nameplate of the car. So then whatever the number is coming, like 3.2. So just open the Bhagavad Gita. And now you don't have to carry the Bhagavad Gita. We have a Veda base. So just read the translation and discuss. So whole journey was Bhakti Yoga. And then when we were traveling, now it's a fall season. When we are looking outside, again, we see the beautiful tree, the beautiful color and everything. Again, then it's Vibhuti Yoga. So the whole journey was Bhakti and Vibhuti Yoga. So it was wonderful experience. Even Devraj, he loved. He was asking me, I really enjoy the whole journey. And it was really total Krishna conscious journey. We never feel like we are tired or anything. And for me personally, I don't travel. I told that Prabhuji also, I really don't like to travel, but this is my first traveling, and I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed. And even after going there, all the devotees, they were so welcoming to us, and then they were preparing everything like diya and everything. They got the diya and then everything. And after that, Rajesh Prabhu we have limited time to do everything. We wanted to finish the kirtan also because they were waiting for kirtan too, and even the discussion of the Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhuji like showing how to offer bhoga with prayers, everything. Even means how to take the bhoga on the plate so properly, and then putting a Tulsi Maharani So Prabhuji show everything step by step, by even keeping everything. We have to finish everything in the time, and putting Tulsi Maharani and showing them how to offer. And after that, Prabhuji has given a box to one of the devotee to distribute the Bhagavad Gita. Luckily, that devotee was make sure he was giving everyone the Bhagavad Gita. So I noticed one thing. One Prabhuji, he I think he came little bit late. So Rajesh Prabhu was discussing some verses, and then the Prabhuji, that the one who came late, he was on his phone. He opened the database. But luckily, other devotee, he said, no, please open the Bhagavad Gita. And I was so impressed. Like, oh, Rajesh Prabhu's work is accomplished, because each and every one devotee holding a Bhagavad Gita in a hand. And now our work is to put the seed, rest is on Lord. So yes, it was very blissful journey. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Archana summarized in a last statement that we are just instruments. It is up to Krishna. So my role was only to carry books and prasadam and devotees from the temple from point A to point B. It is all up to Krishna. Very good. Thank you. The second announcement, you have the visual on the screen. So this poster Raksha has prepared. Uttaman Prabhu is planning to take devotees on the Holy Dham Yatra to Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri and Mayapur from 11 February to 26 February 2026. So anybody interested, you can please connect with Uttaman Prabhu. So there is another poster also for the same event. Just the visuals are different, but the event is identical and contacts and dates are identical. Anybody interested, connect with Uttaman Prabhu or connect with me if you need more information. All right, so let's start revising Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Unit 4, chapters 10 to 13. Shivangi is going to start.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, seeking permission and blessings from all of you, Srila Prabhupada, Sri Guru Parampara, as well as Sri Radha Krishna to offer the summary of Canto 1, Chapter 10, which is titled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka, from verses 1 to 6. Please forgive me for my shortcomings and mistakes. This presentation talks about King Yudhishthir's rule as the ideal ruler after the conclusion of the Kurukshetra war. Shaunaka Muni asks Sutta Goswami about King Yudhishthir and the Pandavas' rule after the war. This is a significant inquiry as it shows that Yudhishthir Maharaja and the Pandavas ruled over the kingdom as a matter of duty, not out of a desire to enjoy the kingdom. Sutta Goswami goes on to say that the Lord became pleased after re-establishing King Yudhishthir in his own kingdom. The world is compared here to a forest fire caused by the cohesion of bamboo bushes, highlighting the Lord's sincere desire to ensure that everyone follows the right path of self-realization to end their suffering. He desires that a regime of perfect devotees take leadership of governance in order to guide all towards devotional service, and all who opposed this goal were vanquished during the Battle of Kurukshetra. Maharaja Yudhishthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Deva and Lord Sri Krishna, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all his misgivings are eradicated. His rule over the entire earth was perfect because he simply followed the instructions of the past acharyas and great devotees like Bhishma Deva, who echoed the teachings of the Lord. The whole world was happy in this way. In contrast to this, it is highlighted how poorly governance takes place in Kali Yuga, with the blind leading the blind, leading to chaos and unhappiness among the populace. During Yudhishthir's reign, the clouds showered all water that people needed, and the earth produced all necessities of man in profusion. The cows also abundantly produced milk due to being happy. In essence, the Srimad Bhagavatam describes how perfect governance is brought about by devotional service in the administration. Rainfall, grain production, the availability of resources and commodities, as well as dairy products, are profusely abundant. It is also highlighted here that the basic principle of economic development is centered around the availability of land and cows. Since Maharaja Yudhishthira was under the protection of the Ajita, the infallible Lord, all the properties of the Lord, such as the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, mountains, and creepers, were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. A key point here is that from the king's rule, we can see that the secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord, because without his sanction, nothing can be possible. Also, because the king was pious and obedient to the Lord and the sages, he was no one's enemy, and he was a recognized agent of the Lord and protected by him. Therefore, all of his citizens, by his extension, were also protected by the Lord. The conclusion of these verses is that when there is cooperation between man and God, and man and nature, as exemplified by his rule, the citizens will be happy, peaceful, and prosperous. Srila Prabhupada also draws many parallels between the modern age and the ideal rule of King Yudhishthira, determining the ingredients of ideal rulership and peacefulness for all living beings. Thus ends the summary. Thank you all for listening. Hare Krishna.
Super excellent. Pragya is next. So Pragya has recorded a presentation. I'm going to play a presentation. I want all of you to listen very closely and tell me what you hear.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I am seeking permission from you all, Srila Prabhupada and all gurus in disciplic succession and Sri Sri Radha Krishna. I will try and summarize SB Canto 1, remaining part of Chapter 10. Please forgive me for all my shortcomings. Before I start, I must confess that it has been challenging for me to do this presentation, as I have been completely submerged in Damodar mode, in the thoughts of Krishna, who breaks pot of yogurt, steals butter from hanging pots, who is quickly running in fear of Maya Yashoda. Maya Yashoda runs faster and catches Krishna. And what does he do? Rudantam muhur netra yugmam rijantam karam hoja yugmena satanka netram muhushvasa kampa trirekhanka kantha sthitagraivam damodaram bhaktibaddham. Having got caught, he is crying and rubbing his eyes with his lotus-like little hands. His eyes are fearful, his breathing is fast. He's sighing, he's trembling, he has a rope tied around his belly. Damodar. Is the Damodar of Gokul the same Lord discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam? The Lord in front of Bhishma Dev, described as the original personality of Godhead, four-handed, dressed in glittering and shining yellow garments. Krishna, you are truly inconceivable. I am having to drag my thoughts from Gokul to Hastinapur, to Srimad Bhagavatam, to present the summary of the last two sections of Canto 1, Chapter 10, covering Krishna's departure from Hastinapur to Dwarka and his accepting of prayers of ladies. So after Bhishma Dev's departure, Lord Krishna resided at Hastinapur for a few months to pacify his relatives and his own sister Subhadra, since she lost her son Abhimanyu. Later, the Lord took permission to depart. He bowed down to the feet of Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was his elder cousin, and the king reciprocated with an embrace. Others too embraced the Lord and paid obeisance. The Lord got into his chariot and to depart. The thought of separation was so painful that seeing Krishna depart, many, including Subhadra, Draupadi, Kunti, Uttara, Gandhari, Dhritarashtra, nearly fainted. Even Kanishta devotees, like many of us, love to hear about Lord Krishna again and again and aspire for his association. Separation of pure devotees like Pandavas, who were so intimately associated with the Lord, seeing him face to face, touching him, conversing with him, and sleeping, sitting, and dining with him, must have been so tough. They looked at him without blinking their eyes. They did not want to stop seeing Krishna, even for a fractional blink of their eyelids. Oh my God, what love! The eyes of royal ladies were filled with tears, yet they went to the top of the palace and smiled. The smile was with affection and shyness. They showered flowers on the Lord. Lord's departure was honored by sounding of drums and flutes. Arjun covered Krishna with an umbrella with a handle of jewels and pearls, all nature's gifts. Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord with decorated fans. The Lord sat on scattered flowers scattered for him. It is said that the chatter of women about Krishna was more pleasant than Vedic hymns. The royal ladies said that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. He alone existed before the manifestation of nature, and in him all living beings merge. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. Krishna's transcendental form is experienced only by great devotees. Though Krishna creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, he remains unaffected. Whenever there are kings living like animals, he manifests in various transcendental forms. They talked about Mathura, that it's a virtuous city, as Krishna took birth there and wandered in his childhood. They talked about Dwarka, which is more glorious than the heavenly planets, and as its inhabitants are always seeing Krishna. The women talked that Lord's wives must have undergone perfect worship and vows of him to constantly relish the nectar from his lips by kissing. All these ladies are glorious, as the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead never left them alone and always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Krishna was given a befitting and emotional farewell by all people in Hastinapur. So Krishna accepted all the greetings of the people of Hastinapur, and he graced them with his glance, which was blissful for all. Thereafter, Krishna departed from the city. Overwhelmed with the thought of separation, Pandavas accompanied Krishna for some distance. They returned only after Lord said that you may please go. Maharaj Yudhishthir sent defense of horse, elephants, chariot and army to accompany Krishna, not only for his protection, but also out of love. The last verses discuss about the places that the Lord passed through before reaching Dwarka: bank of river Yamuna, the province of desert, further west to reach Dwarka. This is his journey from present Delhi to present Dwarka in Gujarat. We are so fortunate to be living on the land which once Krishna graced with his personal presence. So this concludes chapter 10. I would like to talk about a few takeaways from this chapter. Srimad Bhagavatam appears to be a manual on our culture. It teaches us how to conduct our life. In chapter 9, we learned from Bhishma Dev how to welcome guests and how the nature of bhakti should be such that it does not depend on our material condition. In this chapter 10, we learned how to take care of our beloved ones. Sri Krishna stayed back to comfort his relatives and sister Subhadra. It teaches us how to respect our elders. Krishna, the God himself, is offering obeisance to Yudhishthir, his elder cousin. It teaches us how should we treat persons younger to us. We embrace them. If the rulers are Dharmaraj like Yudhishthir, God blesses and the nature produces bountiful. Mountains produce gold, oceans produce pearls, cows overflow with milk. People are happy and no one has any kind of shortage. But if we try to live separate from God, the so-called development and industrialization can only give us with margarine instead of butter and pots of gutta percha instead of precious metals, and unhappiness, anxiety and poverty. So the message is that we need to keep God in center of everything. I end here. Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jalabdhi Magnam. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisance to you. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me and my fellow devotees. Jai Shri Krishna.
Questions, comments, or realizations for Shivangi and Pragya?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji is giving me a goosebump. Oh my God. I could not stop my tears, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhu, the same, Prabhu. This is a presentation that's so heartfelt and it reflects the mood of someone who's such a true devotee. And I don't think any other presentations can match this because it's so heartfelt.
Yeah. Shivangi definitely did a very good presentation, but Pragya has set the bar very, very high. She was talking naturally from her heart and starts with Damodarastakam, ends with Damodarastakam. Yeah. And Nitya is correct. I cannot really match this. And Archana is also correct. I also had goosebumps, even though I was listening this for a second time. All right, I will still do my broken words presentation of chapter 10 after Shivangi and Prakya have already done a very good job. Unit 4 deals with Krishna's departure from Hastinapur to Dwarka. Unit 4 covers chapters 10 to 13. Chapter 10 is titled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. Chapter 10 describes the motive behind why Yudhishthira accepted the duty of a king and Krishna accepted the prayers of ladies of Hastinapur. So Sonaka Rishi's question is, Yudhishthira lost his relatives. So how could Yudhishthira rule? How could Yudhishthira enjoy the kingdom? From Yudhishthira ruling the kingdom, one can understand how to be a successful leader and learn the principles of leadership. So the first question that Sonaka Rishi asked, the answer to that question is, what is the motive behind Yudhishthira accepting the duty as a king? Answer is, Yudhishthira accepted the duty to become king because Yudhishthira wanted to satisfy the Lord. This world is created by Krishna and he wants to see it is properly maintained. And who will maintain? Krishna's own representatives will maintain, not demons. Hence, king is supposed to be representative of Krishna. Krishna's representatives will maintain this world properly. A Vaishnava knows how to utilize everything for Krishna. The aim of this creation is giving conditioned souls a chance for liberation, go back home, back to Godhead. And Sonaka Rishi's next question is, what did Yudhishthira do to become a successful executive head? Answer is, Yudhishthira had no ideology of his own, no personal motive, and no manufactured ideology. Yudhishthira followed the instructions of the infallible Lord and the Lord's authorized representative Bhishma Dev. Therefore, it was possible for Yudhishthira to rule the whole world because principles were infallible and universally applicable for everyone. Animals are equal citizens of the society, and animals were also given equal protection. Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, in contrast with the modern, advanced, civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthira's is far superior to a so-called democracy in which animals are killed and men less than animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man. This cannot be democracy. This is demon crazy. Prabhupada explains, therefore, the executive head should be a trained person like Yudhishthira. The world was happy in those days because there were kings like Yudhishthira to rule over the world. Now, when you follow this chapter 10, and if you notice some things are not up to the standard at ISKCON, then what do you do? So you maintain your standards to the set standards. Maintain association of devotees that are up to standards. When you notice something wrong at that time, you simply follow your dharma. Whatever service is given to you, you execute your service without fault finding, just so as to please Krishna, Guru, and Gauranga. Understand that you are dealing with Vaishnava and Vaishnavis. So don't look at faults, don't do offenses, just focus on your service and go back to your regular day-to-day activities. So Krishna stayed in Hastinapur for a few more months to pacify relatives, specifically Subhadra, because her son was killed. Then Krishna asked permission from Yudhishthir to depart, as well as from others, and Yudhishthir also allowed. It was very painful for relatives to bear the separation from Krishna, just as Pragya was nicely describing, because Krishna is very attractive. And specifically for devotees, separation from Krishna is very difficult. So all were rushing to the spot where Krishna was. Their hearts and minds were completely absorbed in Krishna. They were looking at Krishna without blinking. They were very much attached to Krishna. Female relatives whose eyes were flooded with tears, they could control their tears with great difficulty. So benedictions were neither unbefitting nor befitting for Krishna, because Krishna is absolute truth. He is absolute. So Vrajvasis, they were saved by Krishna. But still, Vrajvasis are blessing Krishna. This Krishna relishes. And lastly, the ladies' talks were more attractive than Vedic hymns, because the talks were directly about Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. The ladies talk about the power, excellence, and glories of Krishna. Krishna is situated before creation and after annihilation. Ladies say he is rarely seen, but we are allowed to see him by our good fortune. They state his pastimes are mysterious. Pastimes are revealed only to confidential devotees. He creates, maintains, and annihilates, yet he is aloof. Just as sky does not get wet when rain falls from the sky. The Yadu dynasty and Mathura are both glorious because Krishna appeared there. Dwarka is highly glorious, is more important than heavenly planets, because whosoever is favored with the smiling face of the Lord shall never come back to earth, this place of misery. The queens of Dwarka are also glorious. Lastly, Krishna's journey from Hastinapur to Dwarka is described, and upon sunset, Krishna will stay at a place, and people from that place will come and meet and reciprocate with Krishna. That's a quick summary of chapter 10. Questions, comments, realizations? All right, chapter 11, Nitya is first.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Seeking permission from all assembled devotees, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, to present Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, verses 1 to 29, titled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwaraka. Upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis, Dwaraka, country of the Anatas, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell heralding his arrival and pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants who awoke from like a state of sleep, and they rushed towards him to have an audience. The white conch shell sounded by the Lord appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. The Lord is all spirit, and matter is ignorance of this spiritual existence. Spiritual enlightenment takes place at once by the contact of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The sound of the Lord is identical with the Lord. The whole material existence is full of problems of which fear due to ignorance is always prominent. This is due to our association with Maya. Yet all fear is banished as soon as there is the sound of the Lord represented by his holy name. The citizens arrived before the Lord with their respective presentations, which were like the offering of a lamp to the sun. Lord Krishna is described as Atma-Rama. He is self-sufficient, and there is no need for him to seek happiness from anything beyond himself. There is nothing needed by him. He accepts that which is offered to him in devotional service. The Supreme Lord is our Father, Mother, Well-Wisher, Spiritual Master, and Worshipable Deity. He plans for the good of all living beings, and by following his advice, one can become successful in all spheres of life. It is very rare to get the darshan of the Lord. Even Brahmaji and demigods have to pray and wait. His darshan is only availed by pure devotees and achieved by devotional service. The city of Dwaraka was filled with opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, and reservoirs of water with growing lotuses. The perfection of human civilization is made possible by utilizing the gifts of nature which are essential for developing the finer tissues of the human body. In Dwaraka, there is no mention of mills, factories, and slaughterhouses which are part of the modern cities. This is called Ugra Karma, or pungent activities that deteriorate the finer sentiments of human society. Dwaraka was a planned city and a planned life that was focused on developing spiritual instincts of human beings so they have a chance to go back to Godhead. Now, is this practical in modern age? We cannot avoid this life, but by increasing Krishna consciousness, sharing the messages of the scriptures, being ambassadors for spreading the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam with ordinary people, we can increase the finer human sentiment. We need to work to make our home a temple. The city gateway, household doors, arches, and roads were nicely decorated with festive signs like plantain trees and mango leaves, all to welcome the Lord. The markets, the public meeting places, the highways were all thoroughly cleansed and moistened with scented water. And to welcome the Lord, fruits, flowers, and unbroken seeds were strewn everywhere. In each and every door of the homes were special things like curd, unbroken fruits, sugarcane, water pots, and articles of worship were displayed. The Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. The auspicious atmosphere includes conch shells, flowers, incense, decorated elephants, qualified brahmanas reciting verses from Vedic scriptures. Such a program is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver and the received. At the same time, many hundreds of well-known prostitutes began to proceed on various vehicles, and they were very eager to meet the Lord. It is understood that even in those days, 5,000 years ago, there were prostitutes in the city of Dwarka. It appears that the prostitutes were so eager to meet the Lord were his unalloyed devotees, and thus they were all on the path of salvation. Therefore, the only reformation needed in society is to make an organized effort to turn citizens into devotees of the Lord, and thus all good qualities of heaven, the denizens of heaven, will overtake them. Lord Krishna greeted everyone by bowing his head, exchanging greetings, embracing, shaking hands, smiling, and awarding benedictions even to the lowest in rank. Every one of them was properly greeted by the Lord in terms of rank and position. As pure living beings, all are separated parts and parcels of the Lord. Living entities are graded differently in terms of contamination of material nature, but the Lord is equally affectionate to all and gives them His mercy to return back to Godhead. The intelligent accept this, others do not. No one is rejected by the Lord from His kingdom. It remains with the living entity to accept it or not. All the ladies in Dwaraka went to the roofs of the palaces to have a look at the Lord. His arrival was considered to be one of the greatest festivities. The Archa Vigraha is his expansion to facilitate this kind of devotional service for his innumerable devotees in this material world. The Archa Vigraha is non-different from Lord Krishna, whom we cannot see with our imperfect senses. The ignorant are non-believers. As the Lord passed along the streets of Dwaraka, his head was protected by a white umbrella. White feathered fans moved in semicircles, and showers of flowers fell upon the road. His yellow garments and flower garlands made it appear as if a dark cloud was simultaneously surrounded by the sun, moon, lightning, and rainbows. The sun, moon, rainbow, and lightning cannot appear in the sky simultaneously. This adjustment is only possible when we think about the inconceivable beauty and potency of the Lord, which cannot be really compared to anything besides the description of natural phenomena. Lord then entered the house of his father. He was embraced by his mother's breast. Lord offered his obeisances by placing his head at their feet. Thank you. Please forgive me for any shortcomings.
Very good. Matan Prabhu is next.
Hare Krishna. Seeking blessing and permissions of all of you, my Sakuru, His Grace, Amavilas Das, my spiritual master, His Grace, Vaisesya Das, Srila Prabhupada, the entire Guru Parampara, and Sri Sri Radha Krishna. So I would like to summarize Canto 1, Chapter 11, verses 30 to 39. So after returning to Dwaraka, Krishna entered his divine residences. He personally had about 16,108 palaces, each perfectly arranged for his queens, showing his unlimited opulence and his ability to reciprocate with each devotee personally. The palaces were spiritual and fully opulent, reflecting Krishna's unlimited wealth and energy. Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms, so each queen felt he was with them alone. So this domestic is not material. It is a manifestation of his internal spiritual energy. So unlike ordinary kings, Krishna is never overwhelmed despite unlimited responsibility. Krishna is a supreme opulence. He reciprocates with each devotee. So transcendental household life is not a material polygamy. His 16,108 wives, he loved them equally. When the queens saw their husband, Lord Krishna, return home, being away, their heart filled with great joy. All of them immediately rose from their seats in excitement because they had been following devotional vow in his absence. So they greeted him with shy and joy faces full of love. The queen's ecstasy is so great that they embrace Krishna in three different ways. Innermost part of their heart, by sight, and by sending their sons for embrace. Even though they try to restrain themselves, they are shy, they still shed tears of joy. This underlines the depth of their love and devotion. Also, the special nature of their relationship with Krishna. While their relationship appear domestic, it is very transcendental, deeply transcendental. Although Krishna is constantly by their side, the queens find his feet still appearing new. Even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is by nature restless and moving. Once she takes shelter at Krishna's feet, she cannot quit. This explains the goddess of fortune could not leave his feet. So what to speak of the 1,608 queens. Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, appeared on earth by his internal potency and enjoyed among women as if he is engaging in mundane affair. Although the pastime appear like ordinary household conjugal affair, they are incidental. He is not subject to sense enjoyment in the material sense. The wives and the recreation serve to manifest his internal potency. The appearance is like one husband, many wives enjoying themselves, but the real message is about the transcendence. The Lord is detached, supreme, and his pastimes reveal his internal power. A thoughtful person may ask a question, how Krishna, who lived with over 16,000 queens, can be the supreme personality of God? The sages explain that Krishna's dealing with his queens are completely transcendental and not material. In the material world, male-female attraction driven by Cupid creates illusion, binds the soul, and leads to attachment to home, family, wealth, and society. Even the mighty personality like Lord Shiva were once bewildered by Cupid's influence. However, Krishna is never controlled by such attraction. Although the queens possessed the beauty capable of conquering even Cupid, they could not influence Krishna's senses. Why? Because he is Atmarama, fully self-satisfied, needing nothing external for his pleasure. Krishna accepted the queens not due to their beauty, but because of their pure and unalloyed devotional service. He reciprocated as a loving, ideal husband only out of love and mercy, not desire. Their relationship was not mundane lust, but purely spiritual love. And even their feminine gestures were expressions of transcendental ecstasy, completely different from material attraction. I will summarize. I will end the presentation by how Krishna married 16,108. Primarily, he has 8 primary queens, starting with Queen Rukmani, Satyabhama, Jambavati, Kalindi, Mithravandi, Naknajit, Bhadra, and Lakshmana. And then these are the 8 primary queens and princess. So they are different princes. And then 16,100 princes who were once kidnapped by demon Vamasura. And Krishna, along with Satyabhama, attacked Vamasura fortress and defeated and freed 16,100 women to protect their honor because society would reject them. So out of the love, Krishna married them, 16,100, giving them dignity and respect and royal status. That's how he came to have 16,108 queens. Yeah, it is so this to keep protection and honor and eternal spiritual love, showing his unlimited divine nature. That's the power of Krishna. Yeah, that's it for my presentation. Please forgive me for any shortcoming, mistakes. Thank you.
Super excellent again. Any questions, comments, realizations for Nitya and Matan Prabhus?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Again, Nitya Mataji has done wonderful presentation that the Mataji has compared the Dwarka Yuga and current situation, like Dwarka Yuga, they never had a slaughterhouse and milk factory, and now we have slaughterhouse and milk factory. And for Madan Prabhu, always he end up telling the sweet, beautiful story of Lord Krishna. Thank you for it.
Very good hearing with rapt attention. All right. I will also quickly summarize chapter 11, although Nitya and Matan Prabhu have already done a very good job like the other presenters. You all have already perfected this art. Chapter 11 is titled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwarka. This chapter 11 describes how Dwarkavasis received Krishna, how Krishna reciprocated with each one of them. Dwarka city is described, and that Krishna is not immoral in his dealings with his 16,108 queens. Krishna arrived by sounding his transcendental conch shell. Krishna announced his arrival this way, and all became alert. The belly of the conch shell is white, and Krishna's reddish lips and Krishna's hands also reddish. Hence, they were forming a nice view, just as a white swan with reddish lotuses. By spiritual contact, everything becomes reddened, just like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. Supreme Lord is Atmaram. He is self-sufficient. There is no need for him to seek happiness from anything beyond himself. Therefore, any presentations, no matter how valuable they may be, are actually not required by him. Still, to reciprocate with his devotees, he accepts whatever is offered to him in pure devotion. He actually does not want these things. Plus, these things offered to the Lord are anyway generated from his own energy. Therefore, the comparison is made that making offering to the Lord is like offering lamp to the sun. Anything fiery and illuminating is an emanation of energy of the sun, and yet to worship the sun god, it is necessary to offer him a lamp. Next beautiful description of the opulence of Dwarka is described in comparison to today's cities. Dwarka utilizing natural gifts, and there is no mention of mills and factories like in current days. Mills are seen as advancement in material world today, but in reality, advancement should be of the finer instincts using milk, butter, and spirituality. Dwarka has fruits, flowers, etc. So we should be going back to nature, protecting animals. Krishna reciprocated differently with different individuals. Lord reciprocates properly with his different admirers and devotees, beginning with his father, he bowed down. And Krishna reciprocated all the way down to prostitutes, chandals, etc. Krishna reciprocated with due respect, bowed his hand, offered obeisances unto parents, elders, uncles. With some, Krishna exchanged greetings, embraced them, shook hands, looked and smiled at them. With some, Krishna greeted them and said, "Whenever you need help, come see me." Next, Krishna's dealings with the queens in Dwarka is described that it looks like on the mundane platform. But first, understand in truth who is Krishna and who are these queens, and how the dealings are not mundane but are actually on the transcendental platform. Krishna is Bhagwan because he is full in all six opulences. Krishna being unlimited, hence all palaces were filled with unlimited desirable articles to satisfy his unlimited desires. And this is not to be taken the same as for conditional living beings. As a proof and truth that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore he had all palaces filled with unlimited desirable articles. No one is equal to or greater than Krishna. Therefore, we cannot see Krishna with mundane morals. Krishna expanded himself to 16,108 times and simultaneously entered into each of his queen's palaces. Now, this is a unique transcendental quality of Krishna called Vaibhava. Some yogis expand themselves to few times, but in each of those expansions, the yogi can perform only one activity. The other hand, Krishna is Yogeshwara. Therefore, he is able to perform different activities in each of the 16,108 expansions. Just as the cloud resting on sky cannot moisten the sky when it rains, similarly, material nature is resting on Krishna, but material qualities cannot touch him. Such is the truth about the Lord, then how can he be accepted as a mundane person? The queens are expansions of his internal potency. The potent and the potencies are perpetually exchanging transcendental pleasures known as pastimes of the Lord. Since queens are expansions of internal potency, there cannot be even a smell of mundane lust in them. The queens are not to be taken as ordinary ladies. Their below mentioned vows are never seen in ordinary ladies in the world, such as Kridam. They were not involved in any kind of play. Sarira Samskaram, that not decorating their body because Krishna is not with them. Samjotswa Darshanam, they did not attend any public functions when Krishna was away. Hastam, they were not entertaining themselves. And Paragrayayam, they did not go to other people's house. So these vows are not seen in ordinary ladies of the world. Therefore, the queens are not ordinary ladies. The queens were able to follow these cent%. And therefore, their dealings with Krishna are on transcendental platform. Still, how to answer how Krishna is not immoral? Understand that the gestures such as raising eyebrows, giving smiles, etc. seem as signs of lusty desires. But the queens are expansions of internal potency of the Lord. Therefore, in their dealings, even in their smiling, gestures, etc., all these are pure desires. The queens could satisfy the Lord only by unalloyed transcendental loving affection and service. The queen's beautiful smiles, gestures were all spotless. There was no trace of karma. Whenever the queens were showing artificial signs or some magical feats devoid of prema, at that time they were not able to disturb Krishna's transcendental senses. Thus the queens could attract Krishna only by unalloyed transcendental loving affection and service attitude, when it was totally free from mundane lusty desires. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, a prominent Acharya in disciplic succession, explains, these dealings of queens are not at mundane level, but is indicative of deep prema coming from their original swarupa, the internal potency. The internal potency is desiring to give pleasure to Krishna. Even Cupid gave up his bow and arrow because Cupid could not attract Krishna. Cupid is able to attract only at material level. Cupid could see that the queens could attract Krishna with their smile and bashful glances. Thus, this is proof that attraction was arising from their swarupa, the internal Ladini Shakti, acting to give pleasure to Krishna via service. Thus, we have proved that Krishna's dealings with queens is not at mundane level, but is at transcendental level. And Krishna is not immoral. Krishna is not attracted by their lusty desires. Those ignorant about truth of Krishna, they take Krishna as mundane person and they find fault with Krishna. They speculate that the Lord is just like one of us. That's a quick summary of chapter 11. Questions, comments, realizations. All right, chapter 12. Divya is going to start.
Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, I am seeking permission and blessings from all of you, Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru Parampara, as well as Shri Shri Radha Krishna, to offer the summary of Canto 1, Chapter 12, verses 1 to 17. Chapter 12 is titled The Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Please forgive me for my shortcomings and mistakes. After discussing the various other events and happenings, the sages continue the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit regarding his birth and circumstances of death. In his mother's womb, Maharaja Parikshit experienced the intense burning heat of the Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama, and he exhibited his great fighter nature by enduring this suffering. No one can kill a devotee of the Lord, and so the Lord personally appeared through his infinite potency and power in a thumb size directly in front of the child in the womb and protected him. The child Parikshit was able to perceive the Lord's transcendental form through his mercy, who otherwise cannot be experienced by material senses. This mercy of the Lord extends to all of his devotees when he manifests in the worshipable Archa Vigraha form for those in the material world so they can easily approach him. The Archa Vigraha form of the Lord is not to be confused as material, it is completely spiritual. The Lord disappeared from the child's sight after destroying the Brahmastra. The Lord never truly disappears as he is all-pervading, and those deserving and no longer blinded by Maya can see him everywhere. Following this, the child Parikshit was born safely under auspicious astrological and astronomical influences to signify his prowess and good qualities as a devotee of the Lord. King Yudhishthir was very pleased and ensured that all the proper ceremonies and further purification processes were performed to protect his future development into a responsible monarch. Lots of charity was offered to the learned Brahmanas on this occasion. These acts were done so that Brahmanas can focus on their duty to elevate society spiritually without having to waste extra efforts and time on earning to meet the needs of the body. The Lord protects all living beings by his different potencies, but his unalloyed devotees are personally protected by him. And from the Lord's act of protecting Maharaj Parikshit from the womb, it can be concluded that he is a first-class devotee or Mahabhagavata. Such a devotee is perfect in all respects, and just by them taking birth in a family, up to 100 generations in the past and future achieve liberation. This is by grace of the Lord and shows his respect for his beloved devotee. Therefore, the whole family benefits when even one person becomes a devotee of the Lord. Such a great devotee could certainly have asked the Lord for protection when he was cursed by the son of the Brahmana to die from a snake bite. But Maharaj Parikshit, being a pure devotee, would never ask the Lord for undue favor. He also understood the age of Kali was beginning, as signaled by the cursing of a pure devotee and the degradation of the highly talented Brahmana community. Therefore, he prepared for his inevitable death and sought out the association of the great saint and pure devotee Sukadeva Goswami, so he could spend his remaining time absorbed in devotional service and devotee association. There are 9 different transcendental means of devotional service to the Lord, and each one is equally beneficial if properly discharged. Of these 9, Sukadeva Goswami was engaged in the process of chanting, and Maharaja Parikshit was engrossed in the process of hearing. Maharaja Parikshit ardently heard the transcendental knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master. Since both of these services were performed with utmost sincerity and seriousness, they led to transcendental realization. The process of devotion is simple, but it must be performed with full sincerity. Any modern day advertisements from unauthorized or false gurus offering of Vedic knowledge or shortcuts to enlightenment that are outside of these 9 prescribed processes should be avoided. Sutta Goswami also told the sages about the perfection of Emperor Yudhishthir's reign, his opulence, and the abundance experienced by his prajas. Because Yudhishthir Maharaj was a devotee of the Lord, when he's in his role representing the Lord, he took care of and served all living entities as a father, not just the humans, but even the animals, birds, and plants. He governed as a duty to the Lord without any personal ambition. Thus, the Lord took care of all of his needs. As the roots of a tree are watered, it nourishes the whole tree, including all the leaves. Devotees must understand that when one sincerely takes up Krishna consciousness and does service, the Lord will take care of all the devotees' needs. Unfortunately, today's political leaders are governing based on personal sense gratification and desires, not understanding the living entity's position as the eternal servitor to the Lord due to the illusion of Maya. Due to their ignorance, they cannot help themselves or the people they govern who are suffering in pain and entanglement from material sense enjoyment. The present leadership completely lacks understanding for the need of proper spiritual knowledge and guidance to help people live peacefully and meaningfully. This concludes my summary. Thank you all for listening. Hare Krishna.
Excellent again. Mayank Prabhu is next.
Hare Krishna. Seeking permission from all devotees, Srila Prabhupada, all the gurus in the disciplic succession, and Sri Sri Radhakrishna for the presentation on Canto 1, Chapter 12, from verse 18 to 36. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. The Part 3, Brahmanas glorify qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. King Yudhishthir inquires whether Parikshit Maharaj will become a saintly ruler, pious in name, famous in deeds, and glorious like the great kings of their line. His forefathers were saints on the royal throne, so the citizens were happy, well behaved, prosperous, and spiritually guided. Under strong guidance and scriptural training, saintly kings filled the land with saintly people. King Yudhishthir, himself a replica of those rulers, longs for an heir who is pious, chivalrous devotee, and who will in turn leave an equally qualified successor. The text contrasts this standard with modern rule marked by Shudra-like qualities, lust, avarice, quarrels, intrigue, and corruption, and urges administrators to learn from Srimad Bhagavatam how to be trained before leading. The learned Brahmanas predict the child will be like King Ikshvaku in maintaining all who are born, and like Lord Rama in truthfulness and observance of Brahmanical principles. Praja means living beings who have taken birth. Saintly kings protect all so they can live and complete their term. Parikshit Maharaj later exemplifies this when he confronts personified Kali for attacking a cow. The purport traces the transmission of Vedic knowledge, Lord to Vivasan, to Manu, to Ikshvaku, and affirms it as a Paurusya not made by man. The text briefly notes Ikshvaku, a son of Vaivasvata Manu who prohibited meat eating, and recounts Lord Rama's role as ideal protector of cows and Brahmanas and maintainer of Brahmaniya Dharma. Next, they predict that Parikshit Maharaj will be a munificent donor and protector of the surrendered like King CB of Usinara, and that he will expand the family's fame like Bharata, son of Dushyanta. This highlights the kingly mode of protection, Ishwara Bhava. As the Lord protects surrendered souls, the king, as his representative, must take that risk for righteousness. King CB is remembered for his readiness to cut his own flesh to protect a pigeon. His blessings from the demigods and is renowned for charity and protection. Hence, Parikshit Maharaj would become a second CB. Among great bowmen, Parikshit Maharaj will be like Arjuna, irresistible like fire, and unsurpassable like the ocean. Kartavirya Arjuna and Pandava Arjuna are distinguished, and the Pandavas' life is summarized here. Parikshit Maharaj will be as strong as a lion, a worthy shelter like the Himalaya, forbearing like the earth, and tolerant like his parents. He will be like Yudhishthira or Brahma in mental equanimity, munificent like Shiva, and the refuge of all like Narayana, shelter even of the goddess of fortune. Parikshit Maharaj will be as good as Lord Krishna by following his footsteps, magnanimous like Rantideva and religious like Yayati. Qualities arise from association, and associating with Supreme through his instruction is real association. The Lord and his name, fame, attributes, and teachings are identical, and by such association one becomes qualified like the Lord. Parikshit Maharaj associated with the Lord from the womb to his last day and therefore attained the Lord's qualities in perfection. Parikshit Maharaj will be patient like Bali, a staunch devotee like Prahlada, a performer of many Ashwamedhas, and a follower of elders. He will be the father of sage kings and the chastiser of quarrelsome upstarts for religion and peace. Regarding destiny, after hearing of his death caused by snake bird sent by a Brahmana's son, he will free himself from material attachment, surrender to the Lord, and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the son of Vyasa, achieving fearlessness. The Brahmanas, expert in astrology and birthrights, then instruct Yudhishthira on the child's future, being sumptuously remunerated, they return home. The child will be famous as Parikshit Maharaj because he will examine all, seeking the person he saw before birth, and thus constantly contemplate him. The part 4, Yudhishthir performs sacrifice to atone for sins. Part 4 opens with Parikshit Maharaj growing like the waxing moon under his grandfather's care. King Yudhishthira considers performing horse sacrifice to atone for sins from fighting king's men, but worries about funds as only taxes and fines remain after the war. Understanding his wish, the brothers, advised by Lord Krishna to collect riches from the north left by the great emperor Maruta. With those riches, the king procures ingredients for 3 Ashwamedhas and please Lord Hari. Invited to supervise, Lord Krishna ensures the sacrifice are performed by qualified twice-born Brahmanas, since birth alone does not confer qualification. After the ceremonies, the Lord remains a few months to please his relatives, then bids farewell to Yudhishthira, Draupadi, and other, and departs for Dwarka with Arjuna and Yadu dynasty. That concludes my presentation. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. Any questions, comments, realizations for Divya and Mayank Prabhus? All right, I will also quickly summarize chapter 12. Chapter 12 is titled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. This chapter 12 describes degradation of Brahmana community as the first sign of Kali Yuga. Yudhishthir's state administration as a perfect administration as well as future qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. The cursing of Parikshit Maharaj by Brahmana boy is the first symptom of the age of Kali, namely the degradation of the highly talented Brahmana community. This has already begun. Kali Yuga has already begun. Parikshit Maharaj did not counteract on the curse because Parikshit Maharaj did not want to interfere with the current of time. Rather, Parikshit Maharaj prepared himself to meet death very cheerfully and appropriately. Because Yudhishthira's devotion to serve Krishna and because Yudhishthira is a devotee of the Lord, hence Yudhishthira protected all citizens as father. This is perfect administration. Therefore, Krishna actually took care of all Yudhishthira's needs because predominantly Yudhishthira was engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Yudhishthira did not have any attachment, and Krishna, being pleased by Yudhishthira's devotion, Krishna took care of Yudhishthira's material needs. The learning for me is that I have to take Krishna consciousness with sincerity, make Krishna as my goal. Then all needs required in society will be taken care by Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example for this. Srila Prabhupada explains the perfect management of state administration, that some administrators, they protect based on their own sense gratification. Yudhishthira actually had no personal interest. Yudhishthira protected everyone as a father. Yudhishthira actually served the citizens because Yudhishthira was not attached to anything except continued service unto the lotus feet of Mukunda. And this way Yudhishthira became completely satisfied. In describing the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada describes Garbhadan Samskar multiple times. Astrology is a great science, but currently no one knows how to use it accurately. Therefore, there are differences in what one astrologer says versus another astrologer. We cannot control constellation of stars, but by following samskars, stars align by higher arrangement. When people of the world follow samskars, it influences the stars. The Lord is pleased that how people are following the instructions. Therefore, there will be good constellation and baby will be good, well educated, etc. Srila Prabhupada says, if given an impression of Krishna from early childhood, certainly child becomes very great devotee. If children born without samskar ceremony, then parents can still create impression to make child a great devotee by making the home as a temple and chanting Hare Krishna, reading scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, serving devotees. The Brahmanas glorify the future qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. That Parikshit Maharaj is compared to King Ikshvaku, the son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. It's compared to Lord Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dashrath, in following the Brahmanical principles, especially in being true to his promise. Parikshit Maharaj will expand name and fame of his family, like Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyant. Parikshit Maharaj will be as good a bowman as Arjuna. He is compared to be irresistible as fire and as unsurpassable as the ocean. Parikshit is compared to be as a strong lion and as worthy a shelter as the Himalayas. Parikshit is compared to be as forbearing as earth and as tolerant as his parents. It's compared to Yudhishthira and Brahmaji for being in equanimity of mind. It's compared to be as munificent as Shiva. Parikshit Maharaj will be resort for everyone, just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, is the shelter of even the goddess of fortune. He will be as good as Krishna for following in his footsteps. In magnanimity, Parikshit Maharaj will be as great as King Rantidev. In religion, as great as King Yayati. Compared to Bali Maharaj for patience, compared to Prahlad Maharaj for his staunch devotion to Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj is compared to one performing many Ashwamedh Yajna and follower of experienced men. Lastly, Yudhishthir performed sacrifice for Krishna's satisfaction. So Yudhishthir needed money for fire sacrifice, but he did not use tax money. So why did Yudhishthir not use the tax money? Because Yudhishthir is not ordinary king. Tax money should be used for well-being of citizens. Therefore, the tax money was untouched by Yudhishthir. Krishna advised to get the money for sacrifice from leftover riches of King Maruta. After the sacrifice was performed, Krishna stayed for the pleasure of his relatives. Because Krishna is also a person like you and me. Krishna also has feelings. It's a quick summary of chapter 12. Questions, comments, realizations.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm sorry.
Nitya, go ahead.
Prabhu, a little bit more, just a question on astrological influences. So the planetary influences, they say it's the planetary, I don't know if it's the stars on the horoscope, the alignment of the planet, the influences. I don't know, is there anything in the scriptures that elaborates more on this? I know this was one introduction, but is there anything more that kind of, it's a science and it's the alignment, it's the influences, anything more?
So if you read Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, verses 24 to 27, Krishna explains the Krishna Paks and Shukla Paks, means auspicious and inauspicious times. These are known to devotees. And then Krishna goes on to conclude that these auspicious and inauspicious times are irrelevant for devotees because they are doing devotional service and Krishna takes care of them. So what I described, which is described in this chapter, in one of the purport, Prabhupada explains that astrology is a correct science, but right now there is no one to explain the astrology properly. No one is there to prepare the astrology constellation science properly. Therefore, what's the use in getting those astrological signs prepared for yourself or family members, because there's no one to prepare them properly. Therefore, there are differences. So there is actually one devotee in ISKCON who actually knows this better than others, who prepares these astrological charts for devotees, but I would not go there. Krishna has clearly said, I think it's in Bhagavad Gita 8.27, plus minus one verse. Krishna says, these alignment of stars and Shukla Paks, Krishna Paks do not matter for devotee. Because Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita 12.7, I am the swift deliverer of devotees. Nitya?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. I think that I was thinking along the same lines. I no longer look at astrology or times or anything, because just surrender to the Lord and leave it in His hands is how I approach. So makes complete sense.
Very good. Archana?
Very true, Nitya Mother. Yeah, me too. I used to follow, now nothing, stop everything, Lord. So, Prabhuji, my question is, when we are saying degrading of Brahman society is whenever when we see the degrading of Brahman society, it's a start of Kali Yuga. But in the past Yuga also, the Rishi Muni used to curse the kings and all. So why we are like more pointing on that Brahman has cursed the king and then it's a start of Kali Yuga? That's a good question.
So you follow the previous curses, they were actually benedictions. They were not curses. If you follow the curse of Srila Narad Muni on the two sons of Kuvera, that the curse was that you will stand as trees in the backyard of Nand Maharaj. Well, looks like a curse. But what actually happened? They observed the childhood pastimes of Krishna, which are more relishable than any other pastimes. They saw it firsthand and they were liberated by Krishna himself. Exactly the mortar that you see on the screen right now. That's exactly what Krishna used to liberate those two sons of Kuvera standing as the twin Arjuna trees in the backyard. So was it really a curse? Not exactly, right? That they actually observed the pastimes and they were liberated by Krishna. And those two sons of Kuvera, does anybody remember what have they been doing from that time till today and for eternity, what they'll be doing? Anybody remembers? So both those sons of Kuvera, from the time they got liberated, they glorify Krishna in Krishna's darbar in Goloka Vrindavan in presence of so many devotees, pure devotees. Right? So how can you say that was a curse? Archana?
Then Prabhuji, this is also like Parikshit Maharaj. Without that curse, he could have, this Bhagavatam could have not come now.
So Prabhupada explains in the purport that yes, Krishna used his pure devotee Parikshit Maharaj for Bhagavatam to come. But Prabhupada also explains if Parikshit Maharaj wanted to counter the curse, he had the capacity. But Parikshit Maharaj did not counter the curse because he did not want to interfere with the current of time. He said, Lord has a plan. I will let Lord's plan follow. And plus it was personal matter. If Krishna or Krishna's devotees are offended, then we have to become angry and take action. But this was a personal matter, therefore he let it go. Archana?
Yes, Prabhu, makes sense. Yes. Haribol.
Mayan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So this same curse story is for Lord Rama and Krishna as well, right? For Lord Krishna's departure, something like that, like Brahmana cursed about the arrow, bow and arrow thing. Something is related, right?
So Krishna was not cursed. I mean,
Lord,
not for
yeah.
his death. The curse that Gandhari gave on Krishna that his family will also fight just as the Kauravas and Pandavas fought. That curse Krishna actually used to get all the Yadus back to the spiritual world because it was impossible for anybody to kill the Yadus. They are pure devotees. They are directly from spiritual world. They are direct associates of Krishna. For Krishna getting shot uh, in the foot by a hunter, that wasn't really a curse. That was just an event made up. And that also is described towards the end of Canto 1. Mayank Prabhu, does that clarify?
Yes, Prabhuji. So, what I don't know the exact thing. What I've heard is like Lord Rama. There was a Brahmana got injured with Lord Rama's arrow, and because of that Brahmana's curse, the same thing happened to Lord Krishna, something like that. So I just wanted to confirm
No, it was
that's
Pandu. It was Pandavas Father Pandu, who killed the sage by mistake through his arrow, and they cursed Pandu. I'm not sure what you are referring to. You might be getting mixed up. So it was for Pandu who did this.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Right. The point is what Archana was asking, and what I described is that to understand that on the surface looks like a curse, but it's not a curse. It actually is benediction. All right. Last chapter 13. Archana will start.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I request permission and blessing from all the assembled devotees, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, Sri Radha Krishna, to able to speak on the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'll be presenting Canto 1, Chapter 13. Dhritarashtra quit home. Arrival of Vidura to the Hastinapur divided into 4 parts. First part, chapter 1 to 6, text 1 to 16, Vidura returned to Hastinapur. Second one, 7 to 37, Vidura instruction to Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Vidura leave home. Third one, 38 to 50, Narad Muni instructed Yudhishthir and hint Lord pastime is coming to end. Fourth, 51 to 60, Narad Muni explained Dhritarashtra will leave his body by mystic yoga. Vidura is a Yamraj himself. Vidura is the one of the 12 Mahajan in his original form as a Yamraj. Yamraj is anxious to appear as Vidura because he wanted to be a part of Lord pastime and serve the Lord. Yamraj has desire to preach the glories of Lord, but Yamraj is very busy to punish conditioned soul like me, because there are more wrongdoer than righteous man. Hence the Lord arranged cursing Yamraj by Mandak Muni, so that Yamraj could take birth as a Vidura on the earth as Shudra. Vidura was very much attached to his elder brother, and all along he tried to guide him on the right path. During the war of Kurukshetra, Vidura repeatedly implored his elder brother to do justice to the son of Pandu. But Duryodhana did not like such interference by his uncle, and thus he practically insulted Vidura. This resulted in a Vidura's leaving home for pilgrimage. While traveling on pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of destination of the self from the great sage Maitreya. He was convinced by Maitreya Rishi that the summum bonum of life is to be finally situated in the transcendental loving service of Lord Sri Krishna, who is Govinda, or one who satisfies his devotee in all respect. He then returned to Hastinapur. Like Vidura has inquisitive conditioned soul, must approach a bona fide spiritual master to discern the knowledge and apply diligently. When they saw Vidura return to the palace, Maharaj Yudhishthir and all other inhabitants welcomed him with a great delight, as that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. King Yudhishthir received Vidura and took care with a great love and respect. He tried to remember how Vidura always protected Pandav, like a bird protects its egg by its wing. King Yudhishthir inquired about details of pilgrimage and holy place he visited. Devotee like Vidura carry the personality of a godhead within their heart, and pure devotee go to the pilgrimage to purify the place of pilgrimage. This is the potency of pure devotee. Hence, then, all the places they visit render into the place of pilgrimage. The Lord omnipotence is perceived and manifested by his unalloyed devotee like Vidura, just like electricity is manifested in an electric bulb. The devotee like Vidura always feel the presence of Lord everywhere. If anyone visit a holy place, he must search out the pure devotee residing in such a holy place. Take a lesson from them, tried to apply such instruction in the practical life and thus gradually prepare oneself for a ultimate salvation going back to the Godhead. King Yudhishthira inquired about Dwarka and the descent of Yadu. The Yadavs and the Pandavas, who were always wrapped in the thought of Lord Krishna and his different transcendental activity, were all the pure devotee of a Lord like Vidura. Vidura left home in order to devote himself completely to the service of the Lord. But the Pandavas and the Yadus were always wrapped in a thought of Lord Krishna. Thus, there is no difference in their pure devotional quality, either remaining at home or leaving home. The real qualification of pure devotee is to become wrapped in the thought of Krishna. That is, knowing well the Lord Krishna is the absolute personality of Godhead. Thus, being questioned by Maharaj Yudhishthir, Vidura gradually described everything he has personally experienced, except news of annihilation of Yadu dynasty. Compassionate Vidura could not stand to see the Pandavas' distress at any time. Therefore, he did not disclose this unpalatable and unbearable incident, because calamity come of their own accord. Vidura remained there for a certain period just to rectify the mentality of his elder brother, and in this way bring happiness to all the others. Vidura, particular, came to enlighten Dhritarashtra, to give him a lift to the highest status of spiritual cognition. It is the duty of enlightened soul to deliver fallen one, and Vidura came for a reason. Dhritarashtra lost all his status and descendant in the fight with Maharaj Yudhishthira. And still, due to his sense of helplessness, he did not feel ashamed to accept the charity and the hospitality of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Vidura tried to make him realize that there is no need to live degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you try to kill by arson and poisoning. Vidura asked him to get out immediately if he wanted to be saved from the fearful situation which was approaching him fast. Whoever is under the influence of Supreme Kala must surrender his most dear life. There are two classes of man, Karpana and Brahmana. Karpana has no estimate of his material body. Brahmana has a true estimation himself and a material body. Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term and that he must prepare for death. It is better to take the right path even at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kind of miseries of material existence, and life should be so regulated that one can achieve the desired goal. There are three classes of transcendentalists. Dhira, one who is not disturbed by being away from family association. Sannyasi, one is the renounced order of life by frustrated sentiments. Narottama, a sincere devotee of a Lord who awakens God consciousness by hearing and chanting, and leave home depending completely on personality of a Godhead who reside in their heart. The idea is that renounced order of life after a frustrated life of sentiment in the material world may be the stepping stone on the path of self-realization, but real perfection of the path of liberation is attained when one is practiced to depend fully on Supreme Personality of a Godhead who lives in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Dhritarashtra was advised by Vidura at least to become a Dhira in the beginning if it is very impossible for him to become Narottama. Persistently endeavoring on the line of a self-realization help a person to rise to the condition of the Narottama from the stage of Adhira. The Dhira stage is attained after prolonged practice of a yoga system. But by the grace of Vidura, one can attain the stage immediately, simply by willing to adopt the means of the Dhira stage. Finally, the strong words pierced through Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra left the palace to set out on the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother Vidura. The gentle and chaste Gandhari followed her husband. Yudhishthir thought Yudhishthir himself was at fault. Hence, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Vidura left. This is the nature of pure devotee. Devotee always think that he himself at a fault, not anybody else. Sanjay also did not know about Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, Vidura. Sanjay also get aggrieved, missing of his master. Thus is the quick summary of chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quit home. Please forgive me for my mistake and shortcoming. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
All right, super excellent. Last is Abhishek Prabhu. I'll play his recording.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Seeking permission from all devotees, Srila Prabhupada, Sri Guru Parampara and Sri Radha Krishna to able to present on Srimad Bhagavata. In this section, Yudhishthira is lamenting over the sudden departure of his uncles Vidura and Dhritarashtra and aunt Gandhari. Yudhishthira, being a pious king and family member, wants to protect and bring back his elderly relatives. At that instance, Narada arrives, and King Yudhishthira implores Narada Muni to guide them in this regard. Narada explains that everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Family members come together by the arrangement of Lord, and by his arrangement they get separated. Just as a cow bound through the noose by a rope, similarly, seemingly independent living entities are actually bound by the laws of God. Yudhishthira is lamenting over the apparent separation of his elderly relatives and the subsequent danger of death which might fall on them. Narada explains that all schools of philosophy accept the eternality of soul and that the body is temporary. Thus, there is no need to grieve over the perishable body. And even if someone doesn't believe in the eternality of soul, then these various transformations of matter from one form to another is not a matter of grieving. Narada explains the real cause of Yudhishthira's lamentation is that Yudhishthira is thinking that he is taking care of the relatives who are poor helpless creatures. But in reality, every living entity is under the control of eternal time, kala, action, karma, and modes of material nature, gunas. Thus, being in the jaws of these serpents, how can one body protect another body? This feeling is only due to ignorance that I can protect someone else. In reality, everyone is under the protection of the Supreme Lord only. From our side, we can only try to help, but in truth, we can't help. To corroborate this point, Narada cites the example of the systematic law of subsistence for material existence. The verse says, Ahastani sahastanam apadani chatuspadam falguni tatra mahatam jiva jivasya jivanam. The weak are the subsistence of the strong, and the general rule holds that one living being is food for another. This verse explains everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord and that death is inevitable. But this verse doesn't encourage meat eating in human life, because human life form is meant to obey the laws of scriptures, which is not possible for other life forms. Human beings are meant to take prasad, which is food offered to the Lord. In conclusion, Yudhishthira Maharaj is advised by Narada to be not disturbed by the affairs of so-called ephemeral happiness and distress, but to look only unto the Supreme Lord to execute the mission for which the Lord has descended. This was his prime duty as a devotee and as a king. The Lord has descended to kill the miscreants and to establish the rules of the demigods and the devotees. Narada instructs that the Pandavas should wait to follow the instructions of the Lord till the Lord is present on the earth. Indirectly, Narada gives a hint that the Lord has wrapped up his pastimes, and subsequently it is time for the Pandavas to retire also. Yudhishthira remembers these instructions later on when he comes to know about the departure of Lord Krishna. Now Narada explains the situation of Dhritarashtra to Yudhishthira. Dhritarashtra, Vidura and Gandhari have gone to the southern side of Himalayas to a place called Sapta Sarovar, where Dhritarashtra is engaged in Ashtanga Yoga under the guidance of Vidura. Dhritarashtra will probably quit his body in about 5 days, and thus Narada explains that there is no use of Yudhishthira trying to find him. Seeing her husband burn in fire arising due to mystic power, the chaste wife Gandhari will also enter that fire to reach the same destination. Vidura, seeing this, would be happy and sad. He would be happy to see the perfection of Dhritarashtra in Ashtanga Yoga, but he would be sad because he could not help Dhritarashtra become a pure devotee. This is because of the offenses of Dhritarashtra against pure devotees Pandavas. Offenses are very dangerous in our spiritual life, so we should try to avoid them. That is, we should not do offenses, especially against devotees. Vidura continues on his journey of pilgrimage, and explaining this, Narada also leaves. Taking these instructions to heart, Yudhishthira is able to give up his lamentation. Thank you for giving this opportunity to summarize Srimad Bhagavatam. Please correct me if there are any mistakes. Hare Krishna.
All right, super excellent. In essence of time, I will quickly summarize chapter 13 as well. Chapter 13 is titled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. This chapter 13 describes Vidura returns to Hastinapur to instruct the attached Dhritarashtra, upon which Dhritarashtra quits home and goes on to leave the body using Ashtanga Yoga. Plus, Narad Muni also comes and instructs Yudhishthira. So Vidura is Yamraj himself, one of the 12 Mahajans. Yamraj is anxious to appear as Vidura because he wanted to be part of Lord's pastime and to serve the Lord. Yamraj had the desire to preach the glories of the Lord. But Yamraj is very busy to punish conditioned souls like me because there are more wrongdoers than righteous men. Hence, the Lord arranged the cursing of Yamraj by Mandaka Muni so that Yamraj could take birth on earth as Shudra during the time of Krishna's advent. Before the Kurukshetra war, upon a heated discussion with Duryodhana, Vidura used the opportunity to leave the palace and get away from war. Vidura went on pilgrimage, and upon hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Maitreya Muni, Vidura's devotion to Govinda was awakened. Upon hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Vidura remembered that brother Dhritarashtra is suffering, and Dhritarashtra should also get this knowledge to get perfection. This means Vidura has understood the knowledge perfectly. Therefore, Vidura wants to share this knowledge with others. Therefore, we should all also do preaching endeavors. Now, Vidura is a Shudra. Still, Vidura is competent to be an Acharya because Vidura was thoroughly educated in transcendental knowledge by Maitreya Muni. Vidura is an incarnation of Yamraj, and this way he is one of the 12 Mahajan of your devotee anyway. And according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anyone conversant in transcendental knowledge of science of God, whether he is Brahmana or Shudra or householder or sannyasi, does not matter. He is eligible to become a spiritual master. Now, because Vidura has a relation with Dhritarashtra, therefore Vidura is able to use strong words. He used very strong words such as, "You are living like a dog." That's a very strong word to call a king like this. And because of that relation, the words pierced Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra was able to develop renunciation. Sadhu is to speak naked truths of life and not flatter kings to live comfortable life at the cost of the king. Sadhu is meant to awaken blind people. Vidura tells Dhritarashtra to get out of the house. Just see the danger is waiting you. Instead of living a degraded life, see the influence of time based on past experience, hence seek protection of the Lord. Vidura points out the signs of dwindling material body. Srila Prabhupada says human life is meant to finish all kinds of miseries. Life has to be so regulated to achieve the desired goal of going back home, back to Godhead by purifying yourself. I have to learn to tolerate the miseries of material world. Understand that nothing can help me in this world to become comfortable. By will of the Lord, everything will come to an end. Therefore, make permanent solution of becoming more Krishna conscious so that you can go back home, back to Godhead. This is the real mood of renunciation. Not that like Dhritarashtra, the sons are dead and he is living in the house of enemy. To advance on the path of spirituality, one has to become a Narottama. So what's the difference between Dhira and Narottama? Dhira means one who is not disturbed even when there is provocation. Dhira is not disturbed by being away from family association. Narottama is first-class human being and who is completely dependent on Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So the instruction is that initially, if one cannot become a Narottama, at least try to become Dhira initially. To become Narottama is by making a plan in life so as to spend more time in Krishna consciousness. Finally, the strong words of Vidura pierced Dhritarashtra and Dhritarashtra left the palace. Yudhishthira thought that Yudhishthira himself was at fault. Therefore, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari and Vidura have left. This is the nature of pure devotee. The devotee always thinks that he himself is at fault. And Sanjaya also did not know about Gandhari, Dhritarashtra and Vidura. So at this time, Shri Narad Muni arrives and Narad Muni explains to Yudhishthira that you think you are taking care of Dhritarashtra, but how everything is under the control of Supreme Personality of Godhead. An analogy is given that we are controlled by the will of Supreme Lord, just as dolls are controlled by a person as a puppet. When one is swallowed by the serpent of Kama, Kala and Guna, how can he give protection to others? It's not possible. I am on the jaws of death. How can I give protection to others? And finally, Sri Narad Muni says to Yudhishthira that you don't go where Dhritarashtra has gone because Dhritarashtra will soon leave his body by Ashtanga Yoga. And of course, Dhritarashtra leaves the body following Ashtanga Yoga. And Gandhari also follows Dhritarashtra by burning herself in the funeral pyre of her husband Dhritarashtra. And Vidura goes back to his original position as Yamraj. And Srila Narad Muni also hints to Yudhishthira that Lord Krishna's pastimes is about to end and Krishna is about to disappear from earth. That's a quick summary of chapter 13. Questions, comments, realizations? Divya.
Prabhuji, why is Lord Vidura considered Shudra?
Because he was born of a Shudra mother in this particular pastime. So if you recall the pastime that the the two sisters were married to the two brothers in the family. That Bhishma, they got three sisters. One sister, Amba, could not be married because she was attached to somebody else. So Bhishma kidnapped these sisters, and the maid servant also came with them. And the son, meaning the husbands of these sisters, they died before begetting a children. So Srila Vyasadeva was asked to come by Mother Saraswati, not Saraswati, Satyavati, to get these daughters begot children. So Srila Vyasadeva, using his special ability, glanced at them and begot these children. So first time, the first daughter became very, very scared, and she closed her eyes. Therefore, Dhritarashtra was born blind. And the second sister was also anxious or got scared. She at least did not close the eyes, but she was also scared, and therefore Srila Vyasadeva said that Pandu will not live very long. So the third time, they sent the maid servant, and Vidura was born from the maid servant. So yes, he is related, but still was born from the maid servant. Therefore, he could not be made as a king because he was still born from a Shudra mother. Therefore, he is a Shudra by birth. By guna and karma, he is pure devotee and Mahajan.
Okay, Prabhuji. So that his father was Vyasadeva, that had no like that doesn't change his like.
So at the time, the situation is that Vyasadeva is not considered the father. The husbands of the wives are still considered the father, even when the children were begotten by the glands of Srila Vyasadeva. So this is described in Srila Prabhupada's purport that still even though the husbands were dead for the two sisters, they are still considered fathers of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. And the same applies for Vidura also. So whosoever was the husband, I mean, there's no description who was the husband of that maid servant, is not described. But the point is that Srila Vyasadeva is not considered the father at all.
Okay. So he won't. Okay. And even if Lord Vidura was raised, like a prince, and he served in the court, so he was governing kind of, but he's not considered Kshatriya only because his mom's status sort of.
Yeah. So he was not born as a Kshatriya. Therefore, he could not become a king. Yeah, he could still fight. So we'll discuss in Canto 3 at the start of chapter 1 that when Vidura was thrown out of the palace, Vidura still left his bow and arrow at the doorstep. So he was still had the ability to fight, but he is not born as a Kshatriya. He's born as a Shudra.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
All right, thank you. Very good hearing with rapt attention. Okay, so I have on the screen, I request all of you to please populate your names. This is the last unit 5 in Canto 1. So please populate right away. And this is our last revision. And then we will, from the following week, after this unit 5 revision, we will continue with Canto 2. Thank you for tolerating few extra minutes. Thank you because I started a little late because it is Dwadashi time and we had to break a fast at a particular time. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you.